in trying to address that matter once and for all. Some of you might be aware that it included some court summons that were issued and circulated. But the Secretary General will give an update about how far we went in the meeting and the future of that process. We are, of course, joined by the President of NEHAW, Comrade Mike Shingange, who will also be taking questions and giving answers on issues that are raised from your side. Thank you very much. Comrade SG. Podium is yours.
Thank you very much, Comrade Zuko, the Deputy President of COSATU, and the President of NEHAW, Comrade Mike Shingange. This morning, we convened a meeting to address the challenges that have polarized the relations between the ANC in KwaZulu-Natal and the National Education, Health and Allied Workers Union, and to put the matter to bed. These challenges arose as a result of remarks attributed to the Provincial Secretary, Comrade Peggy Mtolo, directed at NEHAW. The meeting was graced by the General Secretary of COSATU, Comrade Soli Petwe, the President of NEHAW, Comrade Mike Shingange, supported by a number of NEHAW office bearers, and the ANC Provincial Secretary, Comrade Peggy Mtolo. The meeting was cordial, robust and honest in the articulation of the impact of Comrade Mtolo's remarks on members of NEHAW. In our robust engagements on matters of mutual interest, we agreed that members of the Alliance, and by extension their affiliates, are independent organizations that are well within their rights in expressing dissenting views on the policy positions and decisions of the African National Congress. However, the Alliance partners have always differed on a variety of issues and have always managed to engage on issues by ensuring that the space for political engagement remains open. There is no reason that we cannot address the current challenges in a similar manner. The meeting appreciated that Comrade Mtolo's remarks were unfortunate, and the platform chosen to air such views fueled the tensions, rather than a constructive political engagement between members of the Alliance. We therefore resolved that Comrade Peggy Mtolo, the Provincial Secretary of the ANC in KwaZulu-Natal, will issue an unconditional apology to NEHAW and retract the unfortunate remarks he made. Similarly, NEHAW will withdraw the court challenge against the ANC and the Provincial Secretary in this regard. Going forward, we have agreed to conduct a joint program in KwaZulu-Natal with COSATU and NEHAW to engage with the workers on the ground and clear the air on matters that have polarized relations as a result. End of the statement. I need to add that the retraction is unconditional and is after a process of engagement, of which Comrade Mtolo himself politically have seen independent that indeed the remarks were misplaced and were overboard. And for that reason, the remarks will be withdrawn, not as an imposition, as something that out of engagement in the meeting with our comrades from NEHAW, it became very clear that the remarks that he made were misplaced. First, the question that needed to be answered was what necessitated those remarks. And Comrade Mtolo did explain that it was a reaction to the input made by the General Secretary of the Communist Party at the political school of NEHAW. And NEHAW said it was a political school for ideological training of its members, and many members of the alliance came to the school and expressed their viewpoints. the views they expressed at the platform of NEHAWU necessarily do not represent NEHAWU's disposition. NEHAWU can speak for itself. So even if that was the case, if we were to engage with the remarks of the General Secretary of Communist Party, we need to also have constructive and substantive political engagement with such, not with howling and also attacks on the Union, which is an ally of the African National Congress. So on the basis of that, it became very clear that indeed they were misplaced, and that the freedom to express oneself on political views within the alliance is allowed. It doesn't mean if any member of the alliance does not agree with, for instance, the topical question now, GNU, that people cannot express themselves. But we have also agreed that it is important to be constructive. It's not for the first time in the ANC and the alliance we have epochs in our struggle in which we have produced issues in society and the battle of ideas that we don't agree with as members of the alliance. But those differences have been cordial and the dissenting views have been acceptable. So personal attacks and labels and all of that, that's not the way to debate and engage with issues. But we are happy that this afternoon we announced a major breakthrough between members of the alliance and our structure of the ANC in KwaZulu-Natal. Damaging as they are, we are happy that those remarks that were made, which were unfortunate, have been withdrawn, not just imposed on an individual, but out of a process and a constructive process of engagement that happened at Luthuli House. And this message will be communicated as such to even members of NEHAWU, and the apology will be public. That will be made by the Provincial Secretary of the ANC in KwaZulu-Natal. I thank you.
Thank you very much, Comrade SG. I don't know if President, you want, okay, you are covered. That's that on the matter of NEHAWU and the Provincial Secretary of KwaZulu-Natal. We will now be taking questions. Masego, you will be the first because you are here for the public broadcaster. Junior, you will follow. News 24, you will be the third. You will be the fourth. There's no immigration today, but you will be the fourth. Okay, those are the four that I can see. So Masego will be the first on NEHAWU and Begim Dolo. Masego, come.
Mr. Mbalula, Solomon calls your organization a sellout, particularly for working with the Democratic Alliance. Your view as the SG of the ANC, you've been on a barrage on Twitter, tweeting endlessly just to get those particular comments on how the SACP views you as the ANC as a sellout. Mr. Mike Shinange there next to you, I would assume he's also a central committee member of the Communist Party. Do you also subscribe to the views of Solomon Paida of labeling the ANC a sellout? You spoke as well at that Shropshire's Council of NEHAWU, where you said that Mbalula has embarked on a useless exercise on going around to explain the GNU. Do you still hold those particular views on the government of national unity? Then thirdly, you as NEHAWU have been fighting with SATU, particularly on the issue of the Public Service Bargaining Council, on how you perceive SATU to have sold out the workers in signing that particular agreement that reneged on the 3-year agreement we had about 3 years ago. Do you still see the Tripartite Alliance as a progressive vehicle in championing the change? Do you subscribe to the policies that President Ramaphosa leads a neoliberal faction within the ANC as espoused by your General Secretary, Solomon Paida? Thank you.
Junior Commander from Newsroom Africa. When it comes to the apology by Mbalula, are there any timeframes in terms of when he's expected to make this public apology? And while we are on the issue of party discipline, just to ask also about the current Justice Minister and NEC member, Otem Fikile. There are reports that she is expected to present herself before the Integrity Committee. When is that exactly happening? Is it this week? Has she also written to you as the Secretary of the ANC, Mr. Mbalula, just to clarify her position when it comes to that VBS scandal? Thank you.
I'm mostly covered. I'm mostly covered, but Mr. Mbalula, just on the SCCP, Mr. Mbalula issue, do you then expect an apology from him for even uttering those comments on the podcast? I mean, it was very public. And also, do you still hold the view that the consultation between the alliance partners was sufficient around the JNU matter? That's all for now. Thank you.
Thank you. Hawala Maolewa from UFM. There were reports that some of these unhappy people actually intended to dump the ANC in favor of MK. Are you convinced that this meeting you just had now would avert such a move? And has the ANC been able to assess the impact of such if it were to happen, whether it would be just a handful of shops towards leaving, or we will see an exodus? I'm imagining as a political party, you will be that calculating. And coming to Mr. Mbalula's views, we see even your ordinary members, they share that, the rejection of GNU. Last time we engaged at this platform, you were saying that the ANC is going to go across the country consulting members. I want to know what kind of feedback are you getting? Are people you are rank and file approving of the GNU? Thanks.
Thank you very much. SG? Okay. Comrade Mike? Yeah. So that they can all see you.
It's not every day that this thing happens. Thanks, Comrade Suko. And thanks for the questions. First, I want to start by affirming what the SG will have said about the nature of the meeting that we had today, being robust and cordial and able to dissect all the issues up to the conclusion as read by the SG. And because Comrade Soko, Samkelo refused to take the instruction, I will also refuse to take some of his questions because he doesn't take instructions and he thinks he can give us instructions. So we're not going to do that. Yes, I'm a central committee member of the party, but on party we speak when we are deployed. So I'm not deployed here to speak on behalf of the SCCP, and I shall not do so. I'm here as the president of NIAU that has had a bilateral meeting with the ANC, and that's the only questions I'm prepared to speak for. Did I call Mbalula to be embarking on a useless exercise of explaining GNU? I didn't do so, but yes, I did say the ANC is now having an afterthought regional general council, which was supposed to have taken place before the NEC could pronounce on the road to go. That I did say in his presence in the political school, not the Shopstart Council. I stand by that. But didn't call Mbalula, and I didn't say useless. I say it's an afterthought. What we would have expected is that when the reality was clear that we did not win elections and therefore a form of particular government was supposed to form, those of us who at least campaigned and voted for the ANC about the way forward, we should have inputted in what finally was announced by the ANC. But we must also say that while we had our misgivings, while we had our reservation about some of the political parties that form part of the government of national unity, we understood that if it's not a coalition and it's a government of national unity, it will have to encompass a whole long range of people. We did make a point on record that we respect the fact that political parties that have contested elections have saw it fit to come together and see which is the way forward. Because we are not a political party. We are just supporters and members of the ANC, but we're not the one that form government. I think that must be taken in the context and on record. But it didn't mean that we don't have our views about that. And the ANC respects that even this morning, that they respect that we have views about those matters. I think that's the only thing. Okay, so the neoliberal agenda that is ensuing in the country, and I'm not speaking for the SACP, I'm speaking from Nihao, we do believe that there's a heightening of neoliberalism in the country. We did say so in the political school. It's not personalized on the president or on Mbalula. It's a phenomenon we're living in the country. That is matter. It's a matter that in the alliance is subject for discussion that we're going to speak about. So I'm sure you don't expect us to talk about, firstly, collective bargaining in a press conference of a political meeting. You don't expect us to do that, except to say that it is not true that side 2 signed a 3-year wage agreement that reneged by the ANC. It's not true. We all signed that resolution in 2018. All of us, only COSATU union signed that thing, and the government reneged on it. And we share the same frustration. But we're not fighting with that now. We're bargaining collectively. You will see it as now as the negotiations start. Lastly, I'm sure, Makholego, you will have seen our statement this morning issued by our provincial structure in KZN. Firstly, denouncing that newspaper, Sunday World, as a fake news. And we categorically clarified wherever they said we've got structures that were spoken on this matter, that there's no such a structure that exists. For instance, they call us some district. We don't have such a thing in that province. The people that were quoted to be in there by names in the particular branch, for instance, Prince Machine and Gwelazana hospitals, we know our branches. I'm sure if you dared to follow through, you will have seen that those branches themselves have now written letters to distance themselves from such a thing. That they are workers and members of Nihao who individually, they may be belonging to not only the MK party, but to many political parties, is not a secret. We have always harbored Inkatha Freedom Party members in Nihao for many, many, many years. We have harbored the DA members for many, many, many years in the union. But that has not changed our political orientation about where we stand in terms of the struggle of South Africa. So when COPE was formed, many workers left and they went to COPE, because you remember that COPE was also took away a president of COSATU, took away a general secretary of COSATU. Naturally, workers would have followed their leaders that they love so much. It's not a new thing. When EFF was formed, there were workers who would have joined those parties. But it doesn't mean that structural in our regional executive committees, in our branch executive committees, and in our national executive committee, there's a discussion about dumping the ANC and then go to the MK as an organization. There's no such. I think that you can take it from me as the president of NIA. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for the questions. Maseko, first and foremost, we need to explain that it is the task of the organization to intervene from time to time when there are altercations. And we want to thank the comrades of Nihao and COSATU in particular. When we said, let's come together and resolve this, and not resolve it in the courts, the way things were, because we are allies. We have dealt with difficult issues in the history of our struggle for liberation in South Africa. Nothing is insurmountable. So we agreed to come together, and we did. And we just didn't come together, we also came with a resolution. And where reasoning politically prevailed, individuals made a choice and a decision to apologize. And that is most welcome from Comrade Begim Dolo in terms of the utterances that he has made. On Comrade Solima Paila, the question of labeling does not assist a political discussion and engagement. And to that extent, even in our tweets, we have been very much circumspect and making a point that if if we play to the gallery and differ like not allies and differ like opponents and enemies, it can't be correct because all what has happened on the 29th of May have visited the ANC-led tripartite alliance, and the National Democratic Revolution have suffered a fundamental setback, which we need to come back from victorious at some point. So to characterize each other in terms of labels, we believe it doesn't help because labels end up being labels, because we can come back and say you are this and that, you are ultra left, you are this and that. It does not help, right? Insurrectionary phrase mongering does not help the cause of revolution. The Communist Party is a very respected ally of the ANC, and Comrade Solima Paila at the helm of the Communist Party is a respected leader of that party and respected by the ANC. And in this characterization of the ANC, we need to be matured and respectful to each other without pulling punches, that the party may not agree with the GNU. And like I said, who won the GNU? We didn't struggle for GNU. You look at our strategy and tactics, we don't struggle for GNU. Our strategic objective is to remain in power forever. And the Comrade Mapaila, when we engaged the first meeting of talks about talks and consultations, the issue that he raised there was that, comrades, how do we safeguard political power? That's what is important. Now, we responded to that. What needs to be done? And we responded through a GNU. We had many options on the table, and other people then want to redefine and say that this is a grand coalition because one person from the DA said this is an agreement between the ANC and the DA when there is no such. We have signed agreements with 10 political parties. There were 11, and the other one withdrew and went back to the Progressive Alliance, so-called Progressive Alliance in Parliament. And we remained. And all political parties are happy and they are serving in the GNU. And that's what has actually happened. So because we have suffered a setback, we did not get outright majority. We then adopted the path of the Government of National Unity. What is Government of National Unity? It's a tactical intervention. It's not permanent. It can change at some point and become something else. But at the end of the day, we're not locking ourselves into a GNU permanently. That GNU will change over time. And that's what the ANC will be working on. So we will engage with Comrade Soli as it is expected, including the assertion that there is a faction of neoliberalism in the ANC led by the president. We'll engage with that. We're not afraid to engagement. We have always said and insisted that this is uncharted waters, and we have explained to our comrades that it's just like when the armed struggle was suspended. There are others who elevated the suspension of the armed struggle from a tactic to a strategic goal. And then we kept on saying, and the leadership of the ANC explained that the armed struggle can be switched on and off at any time because it's a tactic at your disposal. We had options, including to become a backbench party and opposition and rerunning of the elections. We have chosen to work for everybody. And why did we choose to work with everybody? It's for interest of South Africa. In our foundational principles of the statement of intent, overarching is the stability of the country. Isn't it? The lights are on. No load shedding. And then people were saying that this load shedding is happening, lights are on, it's temporarily, they will go backward, and all of that. The lights are on. The government is functioning. The rand is strengthening. Jobs will be created. I'm sitting here with the Deputy Minister of Trade and Industry. The economy is on the boom. Jobs will be created. And then Mike and me will discuss neoliberalism. agenda that is on the rise, that he must tell us that where is this neoliberalism and how do we foresee it? And how do we maneuver within a capitalist mode of production? The South African Communist Party is leading an anti-bourgeoisie revolution to destroy a capitalist economy, and that is their burden. In the ANC, we advanced for a mixed economy. At best, we can say we are social democrats, but we are a party of revolutionary democrats. That's who we are. We are not socialism or capitalism, right? Our relationship with capital is unity and struggle of the opposite. They wanted us out, capital. They sponsored political parties in this country. They formed them. They gave them money. But at the same time, we need them. We need them to create the very same jobs we're talking about. We need them to grow the economy. We need capital to grow the economy for the development of the country. Now, we understand perfectly that Communist Party does not even come close to that. But if we are to take examples from China, China itself had to change to something that is called socialist market economy, because it is advancing towards socialism, but it could not advance without understanding that you are building towards socialism in a capitalist, globalized economy. Globalization is also about a capitalist mode of production. Things have become closer. You meet with your friends like now on Instagram and everything else. It has got its own advantages and disadvantages, all right? So the ANC in the mix of all of this, it's not a socialist party. It's a party of revolutionary democrats. That's what we are, with a Pan-Africanist outlook. That's who we are, all right? So you don't have a difficulty to understand where we stand and who we are ideologically as a party, the African National Congress. So you're not going to change the ANC overnight and take a burden of unleashing war on capital the same as the Communist Party will do. That's why the Communist Party is a vanguard party of the working class. And the ANC is a vanguard party of the liberation movement. When we talk about the movement, we talk about COSATU, Communist Party, and everybody else, led by the African National Congress through a program called the National Democratic Revolution, which has actually suffered a setback. So what we needed to do was to say, how do we then safeguard political power to advance the National Democratic Revolution? And that's what we're doing. So if you believe that GNU and the ANC being dominant in that GNU, not just dominant, leading it, it's a sellout position because the DA is party to it, then let's convince each other about what is the enemy, what is the opposition, what is the sellout position, and all of that. What have we done in a very short space of time? Because at least we are no longer talking about an experiment. We're talking about something that is happening right now. What has actually signaled to us that there is a sellout position? Irritation of ministers who call themselves political parties in a government, who claim easy victories over things. You know, I was in a big match at the Springboks, and then people praise Gayton, which is good. He's a razzmatazz, Gayton. I love him. As a minister, he's doing a great job, right? But people love Gayton. They say, no, Gayton delivered trains, but trains are delivered by Barbara. You see, so whose responsibility is it to claim that the trains that are ferrying people to the stadium and that whole arrangement is an integrated arrangement but led by the Department of Transport? Isn't it the Department of Transport itself? And of course, the Minister of Sports is there. He's doing a marvelous job, brilliant, in the context of the GNU, and representing as well, making it a point that rugby is televised on SABC for after many years. That's a great achievement. And that minister is working, and ANC have said every minister who's doing well will be supported. We're not looking at ministers in terms of their political parties. Neither does it irritate us that others want to apportion what they do on behalf of government to their own political parties. We understand the game. We understand the game. If people are sleeping on the job, they are not doing what is expected of them and tasks assigned to them by the ANC and government, don't blame it on GNU, blame it on individuals who are sleeping on the job and do something about them. Because they are supposed to provide leadership, and stop blaming others who are doing their job to the best of their ability to showcase what they can offer to the Republic of South Africa, which we welcome. GNU is functioning, it is stable, lights are on, the economy is projecting to be growing at a faster pace. We are attracting investment in the country, and that's what is important for us going forward. So we will debate neoliberalism with Comrade Soli, and there is nothing wrong with that. But if Comrade Soli then goes and label us and say we're neoliberals and our president is leading a big faction, we will resist that. There is no faction in the ANC. The dominant idea that wins the day, it is out of a rigorous process of engagement. GNU was not imposed in the NEC, it was debated. Options were put on the table. It was informed by a strategic perspective, in first understanding what is the moment. And that is why we came to a conclusion that this moment is a moment of the ANC and its allies suffering a major setback. It's a setback. We are defeated in the elections, but we are not out. But equally, it's a signal that the West can come. So how do we turn a setback into victory in the long term? It can happen, it may not happen. We then went down. We analyzed the elections, the outcome. Now we are at the phase of implementing. We know what happened, who took our votes, what happened, and all of that, and what needs to be done to come back. We know. So if we do the things right, we keep the lights on, we do the right things and all of that, we know that that will rekindle social contract between government, in particular ANC-led government, with the people of South Africa. Junior, timeframes, it should happen between now and tomorrow. The apology will be out from Comrade Mtolo, which is much appreciated. Justice Minister, yes, she has given us a full account to the Secretary General, Comrade Tembi, about what actually happened. I will report to the officials about what she said. Of course, besides that, we've got checks and balances. She will go to the Integrity Commission, present herself, and then we will be advised by Integrity Commission, having evaluated what she said to them, and based on the facts before them, what do they advise? The President is acting on the matter. As you know, he has reported to the country and to all of us that he is awaiting a response from Comrade Tembi in terms of that. I'm sure by now that report has actually come. And then should there be any activity around this matter in the near future, we'll make it public. But the matter is receiving attention of the organization, and Comrade Tembi has been quite cooperative in relation to explaining herself on this particular matter. News 24, no, we don't want apology from Mbalula for his beliefs and his views. A political belief and a view that you carry is what you believe in. You've got to argue for it and stand by it. And that's it. If you are persuaded otherwise, you don't have to apologize. You accede, you concede. But slander and attack, we can't attack each other as members of the allies. And this is what I'm saying. Why should I attack the president of Nehau like he's my opponent? For instance, you know, the young communist chaps, they say about me that I speak diarrhea. And then they expect me tomorrow, I must be a different SG who doesn't speak diarrhea. You know, I must be respected. When they've told the whole country that, no, that man speaks diarrhea. So that's not the way allies differ. It might be something when they probably feel that I said some things they don't like, but which things are very constructive about Comrade Soli and all of that. In particular, the question that the ANC is a big, fat faction leading in a different direction. We are allies. We can meet anytime. But the Communist Party is not a branch of the ANC. Neither is Soli a general secretary substructure of the ANC. He's got a right to differ with GNU and articulate it openly and engage on it. It's an idea. You don't compromise on that. But once you give labels, you deal with your allies like you are not allies in a manner that send a message to the public that we are at each other's throats. It will be incorrect. South Africa have embraced the GNU beyond our bickering. We're at the inauguration. How many priests were praying there? And they prayed for GNU. Everybody agreed, yes. I don't know whether Mike was there, but I think he was there. He also prayed, I think. But everybody agreed. South Africa has embraced the GNU as a country. South Africa says to the world, it has never happened in a world that you can put up government in such a short notice and form government. Many countries, they take a year arguing. Here next door in Zimbabwe, our friends, when they formed GNU, they took a longer period. In DRC, I went to DRC. When I arrived there was still no government. They were forming government. Here in South Africa, it happened within 14 days. It was done and dusted. When Malema woke up, we were done. We're done with GNU gone. So we're not talking things that are untouchable. We are arguing among ourselves. Society has moved on. Elections are gone. Society want delivery. They are not looking at our bickering. We are left with concepts and everything else. But people have moved on. They've accepted the GNU. Caton McKenzie is doing hololos everywhere. He's very busy as a minister. Ministers are hard at work and then changing the lives of the people for the better. Sputla is doing marvelous job. Now he's got powers. He's a full minister, not one electricity. He's dealing with energy issues in the country. Yeah, the lights are on. We're moving on. We're moving on nicely. We are moving on. We're no longer talking theory and so on. We have said, as the alliance, that we will then have in the long term interrogate the strategic task of this GNU, and it will be monitored, not only by the allies, even ourselves as the ANC. We will monitor the performance of government of national unity led by our president. And where there are challenges, we will come very fast and furious that, comrades, you are not moving. So the times of people sleeping on the job are over. We are in a GNU and we are moving forward. And this country is running stable. There is no crisis. Yeah. Political meaning of what certain things mean, that's what we're explaining. Even members of the ANC, you go to the ground, some of them were confused politically. And they wanted answers. Nothing wrong with that. You may then argue with Comrade Mike whether we should have done that before or after. All right? But at the end of the day, the center holds. Who's running the ANC in this country? It's us. It can't be postponed to anyone. We will account to Congress and the General Council about our actions. We're elected for that. We can't prevaricate when we're faced with a moment and not take decisions and go up and down. Why were we elected? If you want to consult forever, you want to consult members, hey, wait there. We are coming to consult you. You lead, you explain yourself. That's what you do. And then you live with the consequences of your decisions. Otherwise, in the resolutions of conference, we're not given a mandate to deliver a GNU. We're given a mandate to deliver outright majority, which we have failed. And that is why we give an account, we do an examination ourselves. How did we arrive at this 40%? That's what we have done. That's what responsible leadership does. We have taken decisions and we move on. And that's what is happening. UFM, MK Party, Mike has explained that particular point. GNU and its approval. What were you asking?
Are you getting positive feedback from your members? You said
Yeah, members, we get positive. It's a political matter. It's uncharted waters. It's not static. If you have studied historical and dialectical materialism, nothing is static. Everything is in a state of motion, right? GNU itself, it's a tactic. It's an intervention. It's not static. We don't want GNU, we don't want coalitions. We hate them. Because at the end of the day, they don't deliver for the people. We're not going to choose a model that's not going to work for South Africa. Like it is happening now in local government. You have mayors every day. If you quarrel with your alliance partner or a partner in a coalition in local government, they hold you at the ransom. We're not going to go to a GNU with somebody who was going to tell us every turn of the time that if you don't put so and so in a Guruleni, this thing is falling apart. We must not sleep. No, we can't. You take a responsible decision, and that decision is a decision of stability for the country. And that's what we have done. We have done what is in the best interest of South Africa and for the people. And we have put the people of South Africa first. And that's what is important. Otherwise, you will be sitting here with an unstable government. And an unstable government sitting there with a partner you are sitting with all the time is pointing a gun at you. You are frightened all the time. You can't move. If you move, you're dead. And that's what is happening. So we have adopted a model that we think will work for South Africa and is working as we speak. And our allies, they will always be critical. And that's why we said we must be constructive. We must not differ like we differ with your opponent. You differ, you raise your views. Remember, when Joe Slovo, a well-known communist, is the man who came with a document, a comrade, called Strategic Perspective that produced a transitional arrangement for South Africa, that gave us modalities of the transference of power. We were fighting with Joe Slovo about that perspective, and we wanted the armed struggle to continue. And then they had to take us through politics, that this is not a sellout position. It's a position that will take us a step further. And then compromises came. That's what produced a new South Africa. We came into power. And when we came into power, we had to share power for some time with the National Party. With the National Party, we had to share power with them. But who started the idea? It was Joe Slovo, South African Communist Party General Secretary, put the document across. So you must never look at things in a state of static. You look at things in their interconnectedness. Should the GNU fail, will the country go down? It won't. All the checks and balances have been done. Every option has got its own risks. It doesn't mean if you had a grand coalition with Malema and Zuma, there will be no risks. There will be risks in that. With Zuma, it's worse. You know now you will be sitting with ministers of Jacob Zuma in a grand coalition and all of that. And then with EFF as well, you've got risks. Nothing has got no, including rerunning the elections, it's got risks. Who said when you rerun the elections, you will even get a better percentage? There's got risks. When you become a bigger opposition, people give you 6 million votes. You shun them. You say, we rather go to the opposition. People said, but we wanted you to continue to govern, albeit with a reduced majority. And then you are showing us a middle finger. You go to the pen, we will show you. We will show you. We will never vote for you again. So every option has got its own risks. It doesn't mean GNU does not have risks. Minority government has got its own risks and all of that. But you know that if GNU falls, it will fall back to minority government. But it is not like local government. When everything else falls apart, it is gone. In this particular instance, everything has been checked properly and engaged. So we need to understand that. How did we arrive at these decisions? And as I conclude, we must not all the time be frightened whenever an ally raises a different. Somebody sent me questions this morning and then says that, are you now going to call an alliance meeting? I said, no. Why? We have long agreed to call an alliance political council. Secretariat will meet and shape the agenda of that political council, probably before end of this week. We are not meeting because the General Secretary of Communist Party has raised a view vehemently and consistently that GNU is a sellout position. No, we will meet at the right time. And there is no crisis in the alliance. Like we have met today, there is no crisis. We can't muzzle our ally and want Comrade Zoli to think like ANC people when he's a general secretary of the party. But it doesn't mean that we cannot engage. We can. So we will meet. And we're going to meet. And after we've met and discussed, we will all be here and explain the outcome of our discussions, including not the reservations, things that comrades believe that if they are not addressed, they will hamper further, in terms of this setback, hamper further any possibility of a massive comeback for the ANC. So we need to do that, and that's what is going to happen. So we are not at each other's throat. All what we're doing as the ANC is to say, let us be cautious, let's respect each other, let's not talk out of turn. Talking out of turn does not produce good results. And then attacking your allies like we are dealing with your opponents, dealing with your own comrades, it's not right. It's not right to be called a sellout and all of that. It's not right to be called the neoliberal agenda. Let's debate it. If there is an agenda that is neoliberal, let's debate it. That if we don't do this, we're gravitating towards this. And then we explain ourselves why certain decisions must be taken. So there is no government, for instance, that can take a decision about any other matter. And allies, if they see that, this one is wrong. For instance, a week ago, President announced a conference resolution that Transnet goes to transport. SAA goes to transport. That's a conference resolution. It's a conference resolution of the ANC. The president is implementing in government. All these state assets are now being unbundled. We are moving towards a state company and all of that. We will debate that in the alliance. We are talking about ESCOM, unbundling and all of that. Those are things that we need to be talking about going forward in terms of the work of the ANC government. So there is really no threat, no crisis about engagement. They are most welcome. That's what has defined the ANC. Otherwise, if we did not embrace dissent in our organization and movement, this movement would have long collapsed. We are the only party in this country that is not led by cult and dictator, and that accept criticism within its ranks and differing point of view. Others, we don't know what they think. The most transparent political party that you can think of, that even some are still in our ranks, differ and even swear at leadership, is the ANC. Only, nobody else.
Thank you very much, Comrade SG. Thank you very much once again, colleagues. We have come to the end of our press engagement. It's a cult because I'm closing it myself. There's no dissent. Thank you very much. See you some other time.